Welcome back to the Back Office Podcast, the show that gives you a glimpse into the conversations, decisions, and fires that land on business owners' desks every day. We've got an amazing episode in store for you today. This is an episode that I've been really excited about for a while, and it's with Edward Manoukian. Manoukian, yes. Okay, perfect. I've had a relationship with Edward, Eddie, for, I don't know, 5 years at this point. And it's been really awesome from my perspective, to watch him grow. He's extremely smart in the crypto blockchain. He's actually the one that, when I first met him, I had no idea what any of this was, and educated me and kind of pushed me down the rabbit hole. But the great things about working with Eddie is he just had an idea. Let's get a website. Let's start with strategy. And so I've actually been able to see his business grow from ground zero to where it is now. Today, we're going to talk about personal branding, founding a company in a complicated industry, and not stopping at one, but creating his complete own stablecoin and building that personal brand. So thanks for coming on, Edward. How you doing today?
Man, thank you, Zach and Joe, for having me on here. I'm doing great. It's an honor to be on this podcast. Probably my third time being on a podcast of some sort. So I'm a little new to this, but I'm excited to share my experiences and my story. I hope that the little bits of wisdom that I have might be helpful for others to hear. And I'm doing good today. It's a great Friday. It's a good Friday.
Yes, sir. It is Good Friday.
Yeah, well, this is the first time I'm meeting you, Ed. So I'm Edward, Eddie. I heard Zach call you a few different things. What's
You
your
can call me Eddie.
preferred
You can call me Eddie.
moniker? Okay,
Yeah,
Eddie. You can call me Eddie, and Eddie, you can call me Al.
Al.
Are you familiar with that? No.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
at the show. I don't know.
No, there's an old song. Chevy Chase is in the video. It's Paul Simon.
Nope.
It's awesome. It's one of my favorites
Going
from the
far,
80s.
probably beyond my. Yep.
Yeah, I'm a little too old for you guys. Yeah, well, I'm excited to hear about what you're doing too, and learn a little bit about this, man.
Very, very nice to meet you.
Yeah, so just like to kick off the episode, Eddie, can you just like tell the audience a little bit about you? Kind of just give us that couple minute brief backstory on who you are and what you do.
Yeah. So my name is Edward Manoukian. I go by Eddie. I live in Kansas City, Missouri. I was pretty much raised here since I was 5, up in the northern part of Kansas City, near Gladstone in the Liberty area. My family moved here from Brooklyn, New York when I was 5 years old. So I was actually born in New York City. I'm first generation American with Armenian and Georgian roots. So if you don't know where that is, it's kind of over there by the Mediterranean, over there near Turkey and Greece, and kind of south of Russia, north of Iran. But they're both two Christian countries, so very small little countries in the middle of all this chaos over there. And so my family, I pretty much was raised here most of my life. I haven't really moved many places. I did live in Columbia, Missouri. I got my bachelor's degree in international studies at the University of Missouri, Columbia. And then I finished my master's up in 2023 as I was working as a business analyst pretty much. For the last 4 years, I've been a business analyst in multiple industries, from life insurance to IT loan giving, to like car dealerships and dealers all across the nation, and even like a healthcare web development company. So I'm a very, very IT oriented, I would say, analytical. And so I decided to get the master's degree from the University of Nicosia in Cyprus. It's also an island in the
Awesome.
Mediterranean. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where my blockchain and digital currency degree came from, because it was the only place in the world that offered it. So I was like, why not do this and be one of the first few, And yeah, I guess that's a little bit. I like basketball. I played a little basketball as a youth, and I've been really into Peaky Blinders lately. Some side things there.
Yeah. Don't no spoilers on the new movie. I haven't watched it yet. I need to go back and rewatch it. It's been some years before I watched that series, since I've watched that series.
I
Phenomenal.
watched the first season when I was sick. That's about the only time I watch TV, is when I'm sick and in bed, and I watch it and loved it and need to get back to it. So hopefully I get sick again sometime soon. Hey, important question for you.
Yeah.
You talk a little bit about your history. So you have some Brooklyn, some New York City.
Yeah.
You said you like basketball. Are you a Knicks fan?
I honestly, I'm a 2007 or 8 Spurs fan. like Duncan,
Yeah, I gotta
Parker,
go, guys.
Ginobili. I'm kidding. Honestly, though, the Knicks, I'm sure they're doing pretty good. I haven't been keeping up with the mainstream basketball as much. Maybe a little more college lately than anything else. Since my friends are into the betting, I think that's really cool to keep up with. And yeah, I like Golden State a lot because Curry and Thompson were pretty good at the shooting range, far range, and you can't hate LeBron, even though he kind of, I wouldn't say he's, my favorite, but I respect his hustle as a basketball player.
Yeah, well, I'm from Long Island, so as a fellow New Yorker, I'm gonna encourage you to get back to your New York roots and go cheer for the blue and orange.
Yeah, I kind of wish Kansas City had a basketball team. I'd be really into it. I know. I'd definitely watch it over baseball and football, I feel like.
Maybe with the Chiefs leaving Missouri, Missouri's going to need something to keep people here. I mean,
Yeah.
hopefully the Royals stay.
So,
Awesome. So, I mean, I think like one of the big things that has always been inspiring for me, Joe and I work with a lot of different businesses, and I always find the businesses that I get to work with and the people I get to work with, starting out a business is one thing. Starting out a business in a complicated niche industry that just nobody knows about, there are people that know about it. It's confusing. And that's what I've always admired about Eddie. And so the first question I have for you is, we've talked about on this podcast the isolation that entrepreneurs have when starting any business. But when for you, you said, I'm going to get this degree. I'm going to start Cryptognosis in an industry that is confusing and there's skepticism. How did you overcome that initial isolation and pioneering, this business?
well, that's a great question to start this off. I honestly, I was really preparing for the future that I felt like was going to happen. So it was just me just going off my intuition and trying to be foresightful about 5 or 6 years out. And it ended up being very true and accurate. So I'm glad I started it all. But you're right. The isolation is real. It was real. I felt pretty crazy at first in 20. So I got into crypto in 2018 and it was only because I knew a guy in college who was using crypto, but I didn't really understand Bitcoin and stuff in 2015. And then 3 years go by, and I'm like, "What is this Ethereum and XRP? It's what is this? It's 180 bucks for one coin, or 15 cents for this XRP." But then I look into it because I'm like very analytical. I'm like a business analyst. I'm trying to understand these patterns. And I'm like, oh, this is the new financial system. This is literally the future of finance. And they're starting it early. So by the time it comes around with regulations, why not start a consulting business and get into this industry and get a master's degree that doubles down on my credentials? So I was really just banking on being right on my analysis. And I bought that coin XRP at 13 cents. I still hold it. It's my favorite, and I think it's gonna still continue changing the world. But I think it's something every founder feels, but nobody really wants to talk about it. When you're building in this space like blockchain and Web3, and even how I'm trying to integrate it with the energy and critical mineral industry, which is another whole complex, siloed out industry that people don't understand. You're not just selling a product or a service, you're constantly explaining why the space matters, but you're not trying to, be overcomplicated, and you're trying to make it not dumb it down, but simplify it a little bit, so people understand what it is so that they're curious about it. And then they do their own research like you kind of did going down the rabbit holes. It's very exhausting on top of everything else that's going on in the world. What changed for me was the moment I stopped like thinking I knew it all, like, cause I thought I did know it all, but there's pieces where I was like, I need help in this specific industry, for example, the mineral industry. Let me just go to the conference in Rolla, Missouri, where they hold the biggest critical mineral conference. And let me go meet some people that are actually industry experts in this space that can maybe validate what I'm doing technically, even though they don't understand the technology aspect, but they could still give me some of their wisdom. So
Hmm.
that vulnerability is what I think attracted the right people, especially people that are my advisors right now and on my team. Just people around me that know kind of what I'm doing, but not exactly what I'm working on. That they kind of trust, like, oh, Eddie is kind of working on something big here. So it was really pivotal to kind of get to that point to meet these people and explain to them and have them hear you out and try to make it understanding for them because it's very new, like you said. So
Right.
Being the first generation, also American, there's this deep rooted pressure in me, I think, to figure out everything on my own. I've been that translator from my father, my mother. I've been kind of that. I'm a big brother as well. I have a little brother that's 22. I know he looks up to me, so I'm trying to represent and lead my family at the same time of not being overcome with all the work that I have to feel like I have to do, but and not appear weak and uncertain, but still understand what I'm working on. So breaking that mindset was probably the hardest part of my journey, the vulnerability part of just letting others try to help me in their fields like law or minerals or energy, and then connecting it to my knowledge. So once I did that, my network just started kind of growing faster and naturally. Met the right mentors and collaborators, and it's still a lot of work to do. It's still a lot more people to meet and to explain this to them. So
Yeah.
I hope that
Eddie
answers.
actually got me on XRP. So he knows what he knows what he's doing. I got a good like 3K exit uh out of, I was playing small potatoes. Eddie plays in the big leagues. I was playing small potatoes. Talked to Eddie, told me, hey, XRP is the future. I was like, all right, let me throw $500-$600 at this.
Yeah.
It spiked, it went. I got scared, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna pull out.
Good job. Because it went back down probably to like $1 or something now. So, I mean, it
Yeah.
has long-term potential for sure. And I'm not a financial advisor, so I really want people to look into this stuff when I tell them to like check it out. Like go look at the website and check it out yourself first. Then, make that decision for yourself.
You in that time kind of talked about you know trying to explain the technology. Can you just like give us the high level overview without, like you said, dumbing it down? Like
Yeah.
what are like the core things that you would say to give somebody that's just like, hey, I need to maybe understand a little bit of this? Where would you point them? What were the key words that you would say you need to know?
Okay, so a good example is, so I'll have some clients that will call me and find my website thanks to you guys. And they are a little bit older and they might not know how to move their money from Coinbase, the main exchange, to their now private cold wallet. So it's their wallet they bought on at Best Buy or online, and it's a storage where they could actually take that crypto off the exchange because it's technically not yours. Like your money's in the bank, but it's being circulated, right? So you have to take it out to put in your safe before it's yours personally. Same thing with crypto. You can do that and send it to the cold wallet. So they don't know how to do that because it's a copy and paste, and the address is a bunch of letters and numbers. So if you make one mistake on the copy and paste, your crypto will go into the abyss somewhere, or send it to someone else. So they're very nervous about doing that. And I helped them. I helped a few people do that. And I always advise, to honestly, YouTube. Like YouTube has a lot of people that already have the answers for many of the simple questions. And these days, I think AI even, just Chat GPT, the most basic kind of, I feel like AI these days, it could answer everything for you if you just simply ask the question and uh, hear it out, and then maybe do a little more research on the question or the answer. But I like to explain the technology like it's like you have a bank account, but instead of or it's like you have stock, but with stock you can't send me your stock and pay me in your stock. You have to sell your stock to take the profit before you can even, get any money out of it or gain out of it or loss. But with crypto, I could pay you in crypto and it could represent a company's value. And that's what they're actually doing right now. They're actually putting all the stocks, what's called on chain, on the blockchain, because the blockchain is just a giant data storage. Just stores all the information. It secures the data to where it can be faster or more transparent or more secure or work 24/7, like they just announced, I think last week. Then the Nasdaq or SEC or someone announced that the stocks are going 24/7 now because they're trying to get them all on chain. So now you can buy them on Saturday and Sunday when the market's usually closed because it's on the blockchain. They just represent a fraction of the so you can own a piece of it. You don't have to buy the whole stock. So that's the
Right.
value that blockchain brings.
Man, I'm learning a ton here, because I think I don't know if you've ever read the book um, Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell.
I haven't.
Love it.
I'm gonna write that.
And he talks about in there basically the guys who like the first billionaires, like I forget, I always get it wrong, but maybe it's like the 9 of the first 11 billionaires were born within like a 9-year window of time. And he said basically, if you were born right before that time, you were just old enough that you weren't going to risk your money in the railroad and industry. If you
Yeah.
were born after that time, you already missed the window. And I feel like, I kind of came in and I've always heard about crypto and just been a little bit nervous about it. And I'm just a little bit older than you guys. I know a lot of friends my age and older are into it, but I've never, I'm a little too old. My brain doesn't process super well. So I'm learning a ton here, and something kind of moving into the next part is something that Zach's told me a little about you is a bit about your personal philosophy on entrepreneurship
Yeah.
and about how, there are a lot of entrepreneurs who are like, hey, I'm going to start a business. I want to do a business. It's cool. And maybe it doesn't work out as well. But there are people who are like, I need this. I need this to work. And I've known a lot of people like that and seen that. I just love to hear a little bit about your philosophy on what that means and how do you kind of cultivate that. So just jump in and tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's another great question. I honestly, I don't know if I quoted someone that said that. Maybe it was Ray Dalio or Grant Cardone or someone said that. Maybe I did. I don't know. It could be a quote that already exists, but one it I think gets you excited. Like at let's say if you're at a conference or after
Mm.
watching a research video on YouTube or something you found, but need it gets you up at 2 a.m. digging into what you're working on because you might have a potential strategic client meeting the next day that needs answers during the meeting. So you have to work overtime because it's just required of you. That's the difference, I think, between wanting something and needing it. And also, I mean, knowledge is, the more you learn, I think the more skills we have, the better the human experiences and interaction. Because even with AI, I think human experience is still valuable, like behavior and that interaction of empathy with someone that still knows like a trade or a certain skill or can communicate and not sound like a robot. So I think we're going to be still valuable as essential to the future, but we do need to learn more skills and learn and just soak in knowledge from others. So for small business owners, especially in evolving industries, the noise is relentless. There's always new platforms, there's new tools, there's new trends every week. So I guess my filter is a little simple. Does this directly serve my purpose, my client, my mission? And is it on my next milestone, or is it something I need to create a little micro goal for that hits the macro bigger goal? So it's a smaller task that I need to do, maybe that's required of the whole milestone in general. If not, it waits. I don't make time for it. So I'll be honest, I'm someone who does procrastinate. I procrastinate a bit. And I've learned though that when I do, actually the pressure produces my best work. It's kind of crazy. And I've read that actually like Elon Musk and other successful people, I'm not trying to compare myself to these guys, but they are also like they procrastinate a little bit. I don't know where I read that stat, but it was like most of these people, they'll tend to wait till the middle to do it before it's like the deadline or maybe towards the end a little bit. So I learned that that's actually when I work harder. Like I need to be a little more pressured. So I built the systems around me and the deadlines and the accountability that fit that for me because I put myself on the stages and I try to make the best of experiences like this, and I commit to doing these things, and I just try to be the best I can because I think that's what the external pressure forces me to learn and adapt and evolve along the way and learn from my mistakes if I make a mistakes. I've been absorbing and delivering the best I can ever since I was, I think, like 12 or 10. So, yeah, I think that's, your working style is your own style. So don't try to go against it.
Mm.
Try to build around it.
Yeah.
So how do you
No,
do
that's
that? I
smart.
mean, if you're giving advice to other entrepreneurs who are trying to figure out as they're trying to disrupt an industry, trying to build their own business, their own kingdom, this empire, and they're struggling with the accountability. They're struggling with the self-discipline to, you said, kind of remind yourself. What are the systems that you put in place? Like, do you have things written down? Do you have somebody, do you meet with somebody regularly who's asking you this stuff? Is it just internal? What does that look like?
I won't I'm not I'm gonna be honest, there's a few people in my life that actually keep me going sometimes, and I've noticed this, like, I have a good friend named Lucky Ogbomo. He's Nigerian. He lives in Miami now, but he lived in Colombia. He's a very godly man, and he'll send me random quotes sometimes, and they, like, get me focused. These
Mhm.
little moments where there's someone that, is thinking, like, "Don't give up," and they're also working on something cool and focused, and it's, like, the same energy, the same wavelength. And I also wanna say my family, like, honestly, I'm not doing this just for me and to help America and the world, and I'm doing this for my father, my mother, and my brother. I wanna be able to support them and the family abroad that, I feel like I'm responsible for a little bit as well. So they keep me driven. So if you don't have family, if you're, less fortunate or like my father lost his parents at a young age, so, he's kind of a role model to me. Like, if he can do it, I feel like anyone can do anything, honestly, because of what he's been through. He's coming from, Soviet Union collapsed, civil war in Georgia, and then somehow gets a visa to come to America and start a new life, like, no English, nothing. So and no guidance, like, just on his own free will. So I have people like that I could kinda look up to, honestly, and then, just trying to stay disciplined the best I can. I know I can't go to the gym every day. I know I can't eat the best every day, but I try to stay healthy. I try to stay active mentally, spiritually, physically, and, just consistent. Just you can't give up. Like, it's really just waking up and knowing you got another day to do something.
Yeah. No, that's I think, what when I heard you talking a little bit about, just everything is knowing yourself. And, I would equate it to like love yourself first. In business, I think it's you have to know yourself. You have to know like, hey, like I'm gonna procrastinate, but when I do procrastinate and the deadline's here, I'll be the one that stays up and pulls an all-nighter and gets it done. And oftentimes that's gonna be my best work. And, I need to know what that grit is deep down. I need to know that this isn't just for me. This isn't just for money. This is for family. This is for legacy. This is for, whatever it may be. And it's going to be different for everybody, but it all starts with who you are at your core and being able to create that mental framework and that loop to refine that every day as you wake up.
Yeah, I think that's what we're here for. I think we're not perfect, and it takes a while to figure out yourself, your purpose and what you wanna do maybe in life. I didn't know what I was doing when I was 22, 23, 24, 25. Really. It took a while to figure it out, right? So and I'm 31 right now, just so everybody knows. So I'm not that old, and I have a lot to learn still. So I know I'm not done yet. Yeah.
It's awesome. It's awesome. I just read a quote about the rule of thirds that I thought was really important. And so it was guidance from an Olympian, and the Olympian was talking. I forget her name, but she said that she just had a bad day, and she was getting ready to go to the Olympics, and her coach, who was a medal winning Olympian, said it's the rule of thirds. You're really good for a third of the time. You're okay for a third of the time, and you have a crappy day a third of the time. And as long as you work within that rule of a third, you're making progress. If you're really crappy all the time, that's not good. But if you're really good all the time, that's just
Yeah.
as hurtful.
Perfection.
Interesting.
Yeah. One thing that I've really watched from afar, and Eddie and I were able to, and I saw this because when we started working together, we were able to like swap emails a lot more. But Eddie has like gotten traction, joined groups, and became, a powerhouse in the crypto blockchain industry. I can't stress it enough. And so I've been able to watch the incredible job you've done at expanding your personal brand and networking, right? And that's led to your business growing. But I say it all the time. People don't buy from people or buy products or buy services. They buy from people they trust. And you've done a great job at joining communities, making regular appearances, traveling and speaking at colleges and campuses and conferences and making those connections. What was the deliberate strategy for you in saying, I'm going to do this? This is how I'm going to grow myself and how I'm going to grow my business. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm naturally a social extroverted person. I do like my, time to work and focus and with family and be at home. But I really thrive in environments where I'm socializing. So I feel like I get energy from it, positive energy from it. I like to share my story a little bit, not all of it, but the elevator pitch here and there. And I want to say it started organically. It started me just, thinking, could I brand myself if I created an LLC, a consulting technology company, where it's pretty much me learning all the stuff I know and taking all the knowledge I already acquired and providing that service of knowledge to others that might need help, just empathetically helping others understand what this is. Because a lot of people didn't know and still don't know how this all works and why it's valuable to them. So I made a conscious decision to accelerate it. When you're in a space that's really misunderstood, like blockchain and cryptocurrency, your personal brand isn't just a marketing tool, like you said, it's your credibility infrastructure. People don't buy crypto consulting from a faceless company. And if they do, they're the ones that call me that are usually ended up going through
Hmm.
fraud. And it's unfortunate because it's elder fraud and it's romanticized fraud and it's pig butchering. And there's about, I think in 2024, $44 billion worth of money was stolen from older folks from America, from all these scammers abroad in Nigeria and Southeast Asia and China. So they're definitely money laundering and stuff. And it's sad because you're hearing these stories. You're kind of a therapist listening to these people call you, and you just want to help them file the report correctly, at least get their information to the FBI or tell them to go to the police station, file that report of cybercrime or fraud and, help them figure out that there's tax benefits to it a little bit. You lost money, maybe potentially help them with taxes and understand if they made any trades or profits, like how to file that correctly, right? And not file it for them, but just explain it to them so that when they go to the actual tax person, that they know how to do it because they don't even know how to do this stuff that well either, or
Mm,
or deal with it's so new, right? All this regulation. So I think trust, yeah, from someone they trust is really important. And I just listen to the problem. That's like the business analysis person in me. I listen to stakeholders and companies, what they need to build a good product and get it down the pipeline to go live. So I got that from that. And I've always been a good listener to people. So someone they can look up and just someone who's they can resonate with and that they can really trust. I think that's really important. Early on, yeah, the articles I write, the blogs here and there that I write, going to like conferences and speaking opportunities. For example, I like to go to the Keystone Innovation Hub here downtown Kansas City. They have a lot of people that come there that are very open-minded entrepreneurs that are also building in multiple different industries. And every time I go there, I learn something new or I meet someone new. I like to go to the International Trade Council meetings because they're talking about geopolitics. International Relations Council, these are nonprofits. The KC Chamber, just your local chamber that might help you understand what's going on the local level and the state level. So if you're a small business, should you continue operating in this jurisdiction or should you open up in Kansas or Wyoming or Delaware or switch to another thing? So I think it's really important to keep up with your local and state level, government so you understand what benefits are available for your business, So at some point I realized visibility is actually, building the pipeline for my one-on-one consulting and strategic advising work. And that came naturally, right? As I got word of mouth and people and shared who I was and then people finding me through the website you helped build. So it became very intentional after that, where I started building the startup and trying to make every appearance strategic and every lecture I gave, helpful, and not overwhelming, and to ensure that that trust is deposited with the audience that will eventually need something that I may be able to offer them. And yeah, that's about it.
So
nice.
how are you balancing all this, man? You're speaking at lectures, you're writing blogs, you're doing all kinds of you're doing all kinds of things, helping people to understand this really complex business that a lot of people just don't have their head in yet. So you're doing that on the one end, but then you're also doing, it seems like from what I'm picking up, some higher level kind of big picture stuff with even the critical resource mineral stablecoin. And so you have two different, two different sides of what you're doing. How do you keep all of that going, well and able to shift focus?
It's honestly, it's not easy sometimes, it's a lot of learning. I've learned just in this whole year since I had the concept and idea, you have to be willing to learn all this new stuff that you don't know about. And I'm really good at just taking in that new information. It could be about minerals or sports or space or tech, and I just like to learn. So that's kind of the first thing that I think makes me a little different from people. I just constantly learn. But I would say these days, being a solopreneur for the most part, because of AI allowing you the ability to be a one person team almost, it's a
Mhm.
constant challenge. I'm not going to pretend like I have it perfectly figured out. I will say that I've had to get very honest about my energy management and not just time management, because it can get draining sometimes. And then you don't spend enough time maybe with family or friends, and then you feel bad, so it's hard to figure that balance out, and I'm saying that without having a family yet. I could only imagine once I have children how difficult it's going to be for me, and I'm trying to prep and plan that mentally so that I'm ready for that moment. But I'm looking forward to that, honestly, because it's going to be another challenge that I have to conquer. So the back office work, client calls, emails, follow-ups, research, that runs on kind of just me being disciplined on knowing I need to get that stuff done. It's a micro goal for the macro. I protect certain blocks of my time for that, and I treat it like a job within the business because it's pretty much project management. And yeah, that block means, take 2 hours break, go on a walk or eat a banana outside and just reflect and look up at the sky. I don't just like just take a break away from the screens, and enjoy the moment, because my mind is always in the future. So that is kind of an issue. Sometimes I have to deal with myself not thinking so much ahead and staying here in the moment and enjoying this moment in time. I am working on a project. It's called a CRMS, so critical resource mineral stablecoin. It's bridging the critical mineral and blockchain infrastructure with business to business using a stablecoin architecture that requires a completely different headspace, because you're right. It's two really niche industries that are very unique. And when people don't know who you are and you're coming in, you're like, well, who are you? Like, why are you telling me all? You have to learn a lot to be kind of, acknowledged. So I definitely had a huge learning gap along this past year. So it's been strategic, it's been fun, it's been creative. It's what makes me think long form, this project. It's really making me think about the future every time I work on it. That work gets my best mental hours. Usually early morning, late night. Sometimes I'll do the daytime will be other things usually, and then operational day will it could be like meeting people or talking or going somewhere. And then so I guess how to explain it would be, how the US has enormous deposits of these minerals in the ground. The materials inside every battery, your smartphone, the defense systems, the wind turbines, all of that stuff. There's critical minerals in there. So buried in the ground, it's essential, but it's worthless on paper until they dig it up. So I'm building a financial system that changes that. It allows mining companies, like actual mineral mining companies, to prove what's in the ground because they already do that with audits. And I turn that verified value into a digital dollar that they can actually use to fund their operation and secure the supply contracts and attract investment without waiting years to dig up the stuff, because it takes like 10 years to make the mining, to explore, drill the holes,
Mhm.
5 years for that, then get approved by the bank to get your money after 100 days or 3 months or whatever. There's no need for that anymore. Now 48 hours and the money is in your account. Like, if you can validate you have these minerals through legally regulated audit companies that already you have the PDFs, you just upload them, and we could double check it all, make sure it all is automated. And so it's revolutionary in its own sense because it's faster. So think of it like a mortgage, but instead of your house being the collateral, it's verified mineral deposits. So it's faster, it's more transparent, it's built for this new age, this new digital age. So I guess the bigger the truth though is that these two industries feed each other for me. So my consulting work keeps me grounded with people that need help, and what real businesses might need here locally, kind of helping them set up with, payment systems that might be able to take crypto, what payment systems exist. Some people don't know. So I'll provide that knowledge for them. I guess, yeah, all of this kind of keeps me, each thing I focus on keeps me, I guess, occupied to a certain degree of who I'm talking to or what I'm dealing with. It's kind of like if it's people that need help, I'm going to be helping them that day, pretty much most of the day. And then I'll save the next day for working on the project or the business.
Yeah.
It's whatever just is in the time block, right?
I
So the
find
mindset
that like
all together.
when, you were talking about just being like a voracious learner, you talk to like a lot of, I'm kind of the same way. Like it's hard to stay super focused on one thing. I know everybody will tell you you gotta just, what's your one thing to focus on. But when you're like truly just like an interested person on lots of different topics, you mentioned, consulting and being grounded with people, actually taking on something that there's very few people in the world that are focused on creating an actual stable coin or any actual, something that lives on the blockchain, but then also having like personal, interest in sports or space or technology or AI. It's really hard to stay grounded, but it is also really rewarding when you can learn those new things. And so it sounds like you've got it structured is there's certain things that drain you, and there's certain things that are filling you back up. And maybe that's just getting a new consulting client. You can just help them move something from their Coinbase to a cold wallet. Probably not super complicated. That probably fills you up. And so it sounds like you're just talking a lot about you have all these different buckets and each one's stealing from one another, but each one's filling the other one up to give you space and room.
Yeah, and those people might just need help, and I won't charge them anything sometimes. I'll just hear them, I'll listen to them, and I'll help them. Just please leave me a good Google review. Like
Mhm.
that's all I ask for. That's what I've
Yeah.
been doing. I'm just being authentically genuine.
Can you like for our audience, business owners, entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs, I'm Mike's plumbing or Mike's heating and cooling, like where and I've heard, hey, the crypto I can start using for my business. Like where do you start? Where would somebody like that in that business or in a small mom and pop shop start with, hey, we're gonna start accepting cryptocurrency?
Yeah, Stripe usually, they have all the traditional payments. It really depends on the platform you want. And, a lot of countries in the world right now are taking crypto. In Dubai, you can buy cars with Bitcoin and Solana and Ethereum, and there's no tax over there. Like it's quite lucrative, and you can buy a house over there. So in certain places in the world, you can already use crypto as currency. You can go and like El Salvador, the whole country uses it as a currency, and he's done well. The president there has cleaned it up really well, the country, and I'm pretty sure he's even their country's holding it in as like a strategic reserve as well. So they're holding it as an asset as well. And I think we're going to do the same thing here. And a lot of states are building the treasuries as well for Bitcoin, so they see the value as well. I think for small business owners, it's really understanding what their product is. I mean, if they're selling clothes or if they're online selling, they should probably have some sort of payment in crypto, like acceptable, like some way to allow a stable coin. It could be USDC, United States Digital Currency, which is the main liquidity settlement for the one to one for the dollar
Mhm.
or Tether if they wanted. So they should at least have some options, to have people, if they wanted to pay in crypto, just on their website or on their at their desk, if possible, when you're cashier or checking out, or through the phone, just having the phone be able to pay through Apple Pay or Venmo now has it. There's multiple ways to integrate it. I think also, having a small business, depending on what your business is, I think there's a lot of opportunities for help for small businesses, and you don't even know they might exist. But the Casey Source Link here in Kansas City has um, a whole I don't have it on me, but it's like a map of what stage of business you're at. It could be proof of concept, early idea, you're raising money, whatever, or anything you need. There's a list of organizations that can help you with your business, and it's called KC SourceLink.
Mm.
Lovely people there, and even just go into your local small business development, SBDC or university that might be able to help you, because a lot of universities offer grant opportunities for you if you're a diverse business owner or a woman business owner, or you have a really lucrative new innovative technology. They might have some grant available that you just don't know is out there. And it's just money on the table sitting there for you to write a lovely letter and application for. So I started figuring that out. I
Wow.
had to look into that. So I think that's where small businesses could really utilize the resources that we have, because we do have a bunch here.
Interesting. So, just like networking, asking questions, looking at those resources, it doesn't seem like while the technology is maybe confusing, there's definitely resources out there to help people with their business and start building out a plan to accept these currencies or open them up to new markets. If you have a service that can break into a completely new market using cryptocurrency, like a product that you can ship overseas or something like that, that seems like a really beneficial and lucrative idea.
Yeah, and I would also add, look at your current existing relationships, look at your industry associations if you're trying to associate with them. Look at those local nonprofits and chambers and ask yourself, who's in my network and who could I, get to know and ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. It's honestly some of that being vulnerable sometimes, and just going and finding the right person and asking who the other person might be that you need to talk to, and finding. And it's sometimes it's a hunting game, and you just got to keep going until you find that person. So yeah, I think also I'm kind of a good bridge to bring people together. I'm very good at connecting people when I see patterns or gaps are missing. So I've always been, I think, just that's just a skill I learned. I know I have. I'm good at understanding who might need to talk to someone, and then I also introduce them to people that they might need help with. So I'm also bringing that value to other people that might need help. So you don't have to be the biggest player in the room. You just need to be useful also. I think if you're useful and you provide value in your own sense and your own business, what you're doing as a service or a product, I think you're positioned to then compound over time. And then you can really influence people and other businesses that need help. They'll listen.
I learned that early on was very similar advice. You don't have to be the smartest in the room. You have to know 1% more than the 90%, and you're golden. So just having some sort of value in some topic, any topic, and it doesn't have to be a broad topic. Like how many baskets somebody scored, right? And you're talking about basketball. Boom, 1% more than the 99% that exist out there. Was just advice I heard early in my career.
Yes.
As we kind of like wrap this up, just because you went to college, then you decide to get your master's, you decide to get your master's from like the only place that was having a degree at that time, and maybe still at this time in this industry. There's going to be people that entrepreneur listening that is 55 years old and has run their business, or there's probably going to be somebody that's 18 years old right now that's still trying to figure out where they're going to go, what their career is going to look like. What's the advice that you would give based off of your experience to anybody in our audience?
In general, just, for someone who's trying to create something new, or are you asking just
Just
specific?
any advice that would be that you have found really impactful to where you are today and kind of use as a guiding principle that could go to anybody. You can speak to the 18-year-old, you can speak to the 50-year-old, you can speak to anybody in between. This is just your chance to kind of to spread your
Yeah, I would say let your story be a part of the brand you're building. If you have a unique story, share it. Be authentically yourself, share your story, and try to apply it to your brand if you can, because that's usually what really sells. If people like to relate and resonate with something that is genuine, right? So I think you'll you can always figure it out over time. It's not always gonna be solved right off the bat. There's always things that will come as you learn more and more. So I think the authenticity to connect with people is really important.
Mm.
So if you can really just within this age, like of tech and AI, like if you can still be authentic and connect with people and show that you are interested in actually hearing them and learning from them, and maybe get a mentor for, let's say the 18-year-old needs an older mentor, like just be open to hearing that story from the mentor. and learn from that so that you can not make similar mistakes. It's just being open-minded and genuinely human, I feel like. Because these days, I feel like we're losing that. We're really losing that. I'm a
Mm.
little worried about the future, but I try to stay positive and optimistic. But it's a crazy world out there, guys. So I just hope that we're not hybrid robots by 2040. We're already seeing Neuralink shipping people and medically helping them, which is great. But what happens after that? What happens when it's commercialized? When am I like hooked up to a satellite then? Like, what happened? Am I human anymore, or am I a different form of human? So I'll leave
Yeah,
it on
Eddie,
that.
I'm pretty convinced that Zach is already halfway there.
Yeah,
You
I'm
got a
As
chip.
he
waiting. Waiting
processes.
for my letter in the mail for my Neuralink. Who knows?
Oh man, that's crazy. I mean, if you could like if you're into gaming, if you could just game from your like kitchen table and still like enjoy that somehow, I don't know. That kind of sounds interesting, but I don't know if I would like personally chip myself. I just don't know. I don't even wear wearables. Like I don't like that stuff. Like I don't want you tracking my biometric heartbeat. Like I don't know, what are you cloning me? Like what's going on? You know what I mean?
It's a
So
double-edged sword. Have you guys ever watched Black Mirror? The
yeah,
Netflix
yeah,
show Black
that's
Mirror?
real, dude.
The like
Next time I get sick, I'll
that
watch
stuff
it.
like really freaks me out.
Yeah,
But
it's like
I like
foreshadowing.
it as well. Like, it's so interesting, a lot of the ideas. They have an episode where they have, like, contact lenses that, like, play back
Yeah,
everything, and, it's like, guy gets caught in a really uncomfortable situation, but, like, all the positives that it brings, it just that's where my mind goes.
yeah. I saw someone on the subway like doing stuff with the goggles the other day. I don't know what they're called. I forgot, but they're like Google or Meta. I don't know.
Like, the
They're like
Apple, the big ones, or,
yeah,
like, just the
Apple. Yeah, they're
glasses?
like working. They're like doing stuff on the subway or like gaming. They're like playing a game in front. It's like holographic almost, but it's not. It's not yet, at least. And it's just crazy to think that that already exists.
Yeah, yeah, it's growing. Well, hey man, thanks so much for talking to us today, sharing a little bit. I've been taking notes here. I'm learning stuff. So thanks so much. But tell us a little bit about if somebody is interested, somebody like me who's like, I just don't know about this stuff. I need somebody who can help. I need somebody who can navigate this for me. How can we get in touch with you?
Yeah, honestly, you can go to the website, cryptognosis.io, and you could schedule a time on there on my Calendly, or you could find me on LinkedIn, Edward Manoukian, and just message me or connect with me, and I'd be happy to help you or hear you out. Yeah, I'm very open to helping others, so that's the best way to contact me.
All right. And gnosis, is that Greek for knowledge?
It is, yes, it
Okay.
is. So
Okay.
crypto, if you think about it, crypto is also Greek,
Okay.
but it means hidden.
Hidden. Yeah. The
Yeah,
hidden knowledge.
exactly.
Okay.
There you
Yeah.
Hidden
go.
knowledge.
Yeah. But I do think crypto knowledge is also acceptable.
Okay.
So
Crypto
it's kind of the
knowledge.
whole point.
All right, man. Well, hey, thank you so much. Zach, any final thoughts from you?
No, I'll put everything, contact, website. Definitely, if you are interested in crypto, I know that I've been able to reach out to Eddie personally and just ask him questions. Always eager to help, and follow his LinkedIn if you're curious on how to get integrated into Kansas City. If you're local to Kansas City, how to get integrated into some of the networking things. He's part of some great organizations, so I'll link some of those organizations in the show notes. And Eddie, appreciate you coming on, spreading some knowledge. We're happy to have you on anytime.
Thank you guys for this opportunity. I really enjoyed it. And I had a great conversation with you guys. So I hope you have a wonderful weekend and maybe I'll be on in the future sometime again.
Awesome. Check back next week, audience, for another episode of The Back Office.